today we're going to be talking about what I've read this past year. If you're new here, welcome to Heart of a Halfling. We talk about Lord of the Rings and do some Lord of the Ring things. So let's get started. Today, I want to talk about what all I've read this past year, in the year of 2023, and all of the Tolkien books that I read. I had this very ambitious plan to read read a Tolkien book every month. So initially, I was going to do the Silmarillion, Beren and Luthien, Children of Huran, Fall of Gondolin, The Hobbit, and then the trilogy. And for each of the books I had an appendix, I was going to read that too. So I decided to take the Silmarillion and allot 3 months to read through it. I wanted to take my time and kind of enjoy reading each of the books. So this was my plan. Okay. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the Silmarillion, which means I went through it really quickly. It did not take me 3 months to get through it. It took me maybe a month and a half to get through it, and that was with me taking my time. So I thought, hey, why limit myself to just, what I have listed so far? Why not include the Fall of Numor, the nature of Middle-earth? And hey, I already started Unfinished Tales, so why not read that too? Okay, I was very ambitious at the beginning of 2023, and I was very foolish at the beginning of 2023. So for the most part, I kept up with my schedule. So let's talk about the Silmarillion. Again, I love it. This was my 5th read in about 3 years, 2.5 years. I had read, this was my 5th time reading it. So I really enjoyed the Silmarillion. I like that, it's obviously one story. They all, connect with one another, but each chapter is also its own story. And I like that. It's just a nice, it gives a short story vibe without actually being a short story. And I enjoy it. I enjoy all the ones where you have a lot more history to it, but then there's ones that have a little of that Greek mythology flavor to it. And then you have Beren and Luthien, which is just a straight up fairy tale. And then you have, Huran, which is just a tragedy in numerous ways. And you have adventure and, heroes and villains and dragons, and it's perfect. I love it. I love everything about it. So obviously I went through it really quickly. So I went through Beren and Luthien, and I try to, slow down a little bit and take my time with it. And I enjoyed it. It was not quite what I was expecting from the book, because it's not really just telling the story of Beren and Luthien as much as it's telling the progress of getting to what we know as Beren and Luthien, which was very interesting, not what I had in my head going into the book. So I enjoyed it. It was fun to see the changes from the beginning to where we ended up. Children of Huran is much more what I was anticipating. It is one full story, and I love it. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, I talk about Huran a lot. I love to hate the story. I love to hate him, particularly. So I just ate up Children of Huran, and I love the tragedy of the story. It is Tolkien's only other full fleshed out story in Middle-earth besides The Hobbit and the trilogy. So I really enjoy reading the Children of Huran. And I think a lot of times if somebody has a question of, I want to read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, what else should I read, or what's the next book I read? Children of Huran is usually the safe bet to go, or the Silmarillion. Either one, but I think people normally suggest Children of Huran because it is more of a fleshed out story, or full story. So next was Fall of Gondolin, which was a little bit more like Beren and Luthien than it was like of Children of Huran, in that you get more of the draft points of how the story kind of came to be, and that was interesting. One thing I did notice with the Fall of Gondolin, though, is that the stories and the notes are in Unfinished Tales. So, is the book necessary? I mean, you get some extra tidbits in it and some extra information, but you can also use Unfinished Tales to get some of that too. But at least with Fall of Gondolin, I guess you can say it's all together. There you go. Next we have The Hobbit, which I love. I love The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit probably twice a year. Once for me, once for my daughter. And it's an easy read, easy to get through. Here is where my schedule just fell apart. Because around June, July, I was reading The Hobbit. So I was getting into The Hobbit about a month sooner than my schedule was saying. And then at the end of July, I was thinking, I'm doing good. I got this. And then we went on vacation and we suddenly decided to sell our house and we were moving. And then you have the holidays and my plan just fell apart from there. So I surprisingly did not read the trilogy this year, which I hate because it's the first year in like 5 years that I haven't read the trilogy. So I don't love that. But, so again, going back to the ambitions I had this year, because at the beginning of the year, because I got through the Silmarillion so quickly, I thought I'm going to be able to read all these things. So let's talk about the unfinished books, which we have Unfinished Tales, which I thought I was going to be able to get through that book because we were going through it here on the channel, but then I kind of needed a break. So that hasn't happened yet. I haven't finished it. I am working on getting those videos back up. So we will be completing Unfinished Tales. No worries. So then the other book that I was trying to go through was the Letters of Tolkien, but I kind of want to take my time with the letters. I don't want to just read through them and all of them start blending together. I really want to just enjoy those little things. So it'll be something that I'll continue to read, but it's not just like, let's just read it and get through it. I really want to take my time with that one. So I'm still going through that. And then I also read, and I don't know, it doesn't really count, I don't think, because it's just a little illustrated book, but it's Bilbo's last poem, or last song, I'm sorry, Bilbo's last song. And so, I don't know if it counts. I put it in the stack though, and I have this video of it, because it is one that my daughter and I read through quite often. We like that it shows, Bilbo leaving Middle-earth, but at the bottom it also shows his adventure in The Hobbit. So it's one that we kind of flip through quite often throughout the year. The next book that I did finish this one, but it's not really a Tolkien book, but it's Alan Lee's Lord of the Rings sketchbook. So I went through that, and that was really interesting to go through. I love looking at the illustrations and sort of the thought process behind the designs. So that was really nice. I don't know if it counts as Tolkien in a year, because obviously it's not J.R.R. Tolkien writing, but it's the Lord of the Rings, so it's in the stack as well. So I also had plans on going through the Fall of Numor and the Nature of Middle-earth. And obviously I did not get to those 2 books. It was really ambitious of me to think that I could get to those books. Maybe if everything had stayed on track, I might have been able to, but there was just no getting to it this year. And I had mixed feelings on the Fall of Numor anyways, because it seems like a lot of what is in there, from me kind of skimming through it, is already in Unfinished Tales. So I don't really know the purpose behind the book, other than, I guess you could say it's all together, because you get the Fall of Numor from the Silmarillion, and then what's in Unfinished Tales all together. But I don't know, it doesn't really seem that there's anything added to it. But maybe I will go through it and my opinion will change. I don't know. As of right now, that's where I'm at. Come back later. So that's what I've gone through this year. So next year, plans. Or I guess this year, it's 2024. So this year, plans. I'm obviously going to read the trilogy, and I will be reading The Hobbit because those are just annual reads. And it kind of seems that the Silmarillion is an annual read. I don't know. It's just happening. But other than that, I really plan on finishing Unfinished Tales, and we will be continuing those videos. And then I want to go through The Nature of Middle-earth and The Fall of Numor. I don't know if I'll make videos on those. If I do, it will just be one video. I'm not really sure yet. But once we get done with Unfinished Tales, my next big thing that I really want to go through, and it's going to take a long, long time to go through it, and I'm excited for it, and that is the history of Middle-earth. They have been behind me for quite some time now, it feels like, and I'm a little nervous to read them, but I'm going to do it. And then on my own, again, I don't think I'll make a video on it, but on my own, I'm going to be reading his biography and continue with the letters. And then I will also be reading the history of the Hobbit. I haven't decided if I want that to take this year's place of the Hobbit. I probably will, since I'm still going to read the Hobbit to my daughter. My read will probably be the history of the Hobbit. So those are to come. Those are books that have not quite made it from the North Pole yet, so they're on their way. So yeah, that's my plans for this coming year. I was way too ambitious. That's not true. I wasn't that ambitious with my reading plan last year, because essentially it would have been a book a month. That's not that ambitious. It just, life kind of got a little carried away from me around the summertime, and it was just hard to kind of catch up after that. So there we have it. But this next year, we're doing it. We're getting into stuff. We're reading things, we're learning things, we're soaking up Middle-earth. That's the plan. So there you go. If you guys read Tolkien this year or had a reading plan or whatever, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you read, what was your favorite thing that you read this past year, or what's something that you plan to read this coming year. I don't know, whatever you want. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you have had a wonderful 2023. I hope it didn't beat anybody up too badly. And if it did, I'm really sorry. And I hope that this next week is just full of blessings and that this next year is prosperous for you. But otherwise, may your homes be filled with food and cheer.